At Northspire Architecture, Ethan Royce, a rising partner with a polished image, meets Nia Campbell, a fearless designer who challenges both his work and his beliefs. Can love rewrite his past? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. The morning sun reflected off the glass walls of Northspire Architecture, one of Seattle's most prestigious firms. Inside, employees hurried to their desks, exchanging whispers about the new hire starting today. Ethan Royce adjusted his expensive tie as he reviewed the morning's schedule in his corner office. At 33, he was the youngest senior partner in the firm's history. His steel-gray eyes scanned the design proposals on his desk with the critical attention to detail that had earned him his reputation. "The staff meeting starts in 5 minutes, his assistant called through the intercom. Ethan gathered his papers and headed to the conference room. The other partners were already seated around the large glass table. "Good morning, everyone," said William Porter, the managing partner. "Before we begin, I'd like to introduce our newest team member. She's an award-winning designer from Atlanta, and we're fortunate to have her join us." The door opened and Ethan's eyes widened slightly. Nia Campbell walked in with confident steps. Her natural curls framed a face of striking beauty, and her brown skin seemed to glow under the office lights. She wore a perfectly tailored red dress that stood out among the sea of gray and black suits. "This is Nia Campbell," William continued. "She'll be heading our new civic engagement division." Nia smiled. "Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm excited to bring a fresh perspective to Northspire." Ethan found himself staring. He quickly composed his face into a polite, professional smile, but something had shifted inside him, something uncomfortable. After the meeting, Ethan retreated to his office, trying to focus on work, but his mind kept drifting back to Nia. It wasn't just that she was beautiful, it was her confidence, the way she commanded the room without trying. His phone rang. It was his friend James calling. "How's it going? Ready for golf this weekend?" James asked. "Yeah, sure," Ethan replied distractedly. "What's wrong? You sound off." Ethan hesitated. "The new designer started today." "Oh, right, the diversity hire from Atlanta." Ethan frowned. "She's not just a diversity hire, she won the Pritzker Emerging Talent Award last year." "Wait a minute," James laughed. "Is she pretty?" "That's not the point." "Come on, Ethan. Remember what you told me at the club last year? You said you don't date black women, not your type, remember?" Ethan's stomach tightened. He did remember that conversation. It had seemed so casual at the time, just another comment about dating preferences. But now, with Nia's image fresh in his mind, the words felt wrong. "I have to go," he said, ending the call. Later that day, Ethan found himself walking past Nia's new office. She was arranging her design awards on a shelf, her movements graceful and precise. "Need any help settling in?" he asked, stopping at her door. Nia turned. "Mr. Royce." "No, I'm fine. Thank you. Please, call me Ethan." She studied him for a moment. "Ethan, then. I've seen your work on the lakefront tower. Very impressive." "Thank you. Your portfolio is quite remarkable as well." An awkward silence fell between them. "The Harrison Civic Center project is starting next week," Ethan said finally. "I thought you might want to join the initial planning meeting." "I'd like that," Nia replied, "though I was under the impression that project was already assigned to your team." "It was, but your experience with community-centered design could be valuable." Nia's eyes narrowed slightly. "I appreciate the opportunity, but I hope you understand I'm not here to be anyone's token." The directness of her comment caught Ethan off guard. "That's not what I—" "It's okay," she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I know how these things work, but let me be clear. I'm here to excel, not to prove I belong." Ethan felt heat rise to his face. "Of course, I didn't mean to suggest otherwise." As he walked away, Ethan felt unsettled. No employee had ever spoken to him that way before. Most people at Northspire were careful around the partners, always agreeable, always deferential. But Nia Campbell was different. That night, Ethan couldn't sleep. He kept replaying his conversation with Nia, and worse, remembering what he'd said to James the year before. "I don't date black women. Not really my type. We wouldn't connect." Why had he said that? He'd never actually dated a black woman before. It was just something he'd absorbed from his social circle, from the exclusive neighborhoods and private schools and country clubs that had shaped his life. For the first time, he wondered if he'd been missing something all along. The next morning, Ethan arrived early to prepare for his presentation to a major client. As he walked to the coffee machine, he overheard two designers talking in the break room. "Did you see the new hire?" one asked. "Quite the diversity statement." "Yeah, but you have to admit she's got talent," the other replied. Did you see her design for that community center in Atlanta? Sure, but you know how it is. They probably gave her that project to fill some quota. Ethan stepped into view, and both men straightened up immediately. Good morning, Mr. Royce, they said in unison. Ethan's jaw tightened. I expect everyone at this firm to be judged on their talent and work ethic, not assumptions. Is that clear? The men nodded, looking embarrassed. Ethan filled his coffee cup and walked away, surprised at his own reaction. He'd heard comments like that before and never said anything. Why was it bothering him now? Later that day, the Harrison Civic Center meeting was underway. Ethan was presenting his design concept when Nia raised her hand. Yes, Ms. Campbell, he acknowledged her. Your design is technically excellent, she said, but I notice there's no community gathering space. In a neighborhood like Harrison, that's a missed opportunity. The client didn't request that feature, Ethan replied. Sometimes clients don't know what they need until they see it, Nia countered. She stood up and walked to the board, picking up a marker. If I may? Ethan nodded, watching as she quickly sketched an addition to his design, a circular plaza with stepped seating that flowed naturally from the main entrance. This space could host farmers' markets, cultural events, outdoor performances. It would transform the center from just another building into the heart of the community. The room was silent. Then William Porter spoke up. I like it. Ethan, what do you think? All eyes turned to him. Normally, Ethan hated having his designs altered, but looking at Nia's addition, he could see she was right. It's a good idea, he admitted. We should incorporate it. Nia looked surprised, then pleased. She returned to her seat with a small smile. After the meeting, Ethan caught up with her in the hallway. That was good work in there, he said. Thank you for being open to the suggestion, she replied. Not everyone would be. I recognize good design when I see it. She tilted her head, studying him. Is that all it takes to impress you? Good design? The question seemed to have a deeper meaning, and Ethan wasn't sure how to respond. I should get back to work, Nia said, not waiting for his answer. As she walked away, Ethan felt that same unsettling sensation. Nia Campbell wasn't just challenging his designs, she was challenging him. The weeks passed, and Nia quickly established herself at Northspire. Her designs were innovative, her presentations confident, and she wasn't afraid to speak her mind in meetings dominated by men. Ethan found himself looking for reasons to collaborate with her, to hear her perspective on his projects. Something about her drew him in, despite his attempts to maintain professional distance. One evening, Ethan was working late when he noticed the light still on in Nia's office. He walked by and saw her bent over a model, carefully adjusting tiny elements. You're here late, he said from the doorway. Nia looked up. So are you. Need any help? She hesitated, then nodded. Actually, yes. I could use a second opinion on this layout. Ethan entered her office and stood beside her, studying the model. He was acutely aware of her presence, the faint scent of her perfume, the way her curls fell across her forehead as she leaned forward. The client wants traditional, but I think they need something more progressive, she explained. What if you combined both? Ethan suggested, pointing to a section of the model. Classic elements here, but with modern materials and lines. Nia considered his suggestion. That could work. She made a small adjustment to the model. Like this? Exactly. Their eyes met, and for a moment, neither spoke. Then Nia straightened up, putting a professional distance between them. Thanks for the input. I should finish up here. Ethan nodded, taking the hint. Good night, Nia. Good night, Ethan. As he walked to his car in the parking garage, Ethan's phone rang. It was his sister, Ivy. Are you coming to dinner on Sunday? She asked. Mom's making your favorite. I'll be there, he promised. How's work? Any interesting projects? Actually, yes. We have a new designer who's bringing some fresh ideas. Oh? Who is it? Nia Campbell. She's from Atlanta. Wait, Nia Campbell? Ivy sounded excited. The one who designed that amazing community arts center. Ethan, she's brilliant. You know her work? Of course. I did a piece on emerging black architects for the magazine last year. She was featured prominently. Ethan felt a twinge of embarrassment that his sister, a journalist, knew more about Nia's accomplishments than he had. You should bring her to dinner sometime, Ivy suggested. It's not like that, Ethan said quickly. We're just colleagues. Ivy replied, not sounding convinced. Well, see you Sunday. The next day, Ethan was in a meeting with William Porter when the topic of the firm's annual charity gala came up. We need to make a splash this year, William said. Show we're not just another stuffy architectural firm. What did you have in mind? Ethan asked. I was thinking we could showcase Nia's community center design. It aligns perfectly with our charitable focus this year. Ethan nodded. She would be the perfect face for that initiative. William gave him a curious look. You seem quite taken with our new designer. I respect her talent, Ethan said carefully. Just be careful, Ethan. Office romances can get complicated. It's not like that, Ethan insisted for the second time in 24 hours. But that night, as he lay in bed staring at the ceiling, Ethan had to admit to himself that maybe it was like that, after all. Despite everything he'd ever said, despite the image he'd cultivated and the expectations of his social circle, he was attracted to Nia Campbell, and he had no idea what to do about it. The charity gala was scheduled for the following month, and preparations were in full swing. Nia's design was selected as the centerpiece, and she was asked to give a short presentation. Ethan found reasons to attend planning meetings he would normally delegate to junior staff. He told himself it was because he wanted the event to be perfect, but he knew the real reason was Nia. One afternoon he was reviewing the guest list with the event coordinator when Nia walked by. "Ms. Campbell," he called. "Do you have a moment?" She stopped. "What can I help you with?" "I wanted to discuss your presentation for the gala, perhaps over coffee." Nia raised an eyebrow. "Is this a work meeting or something else?" The directness of her question caught him off guard again. "A work meeting, of course. Then let's use the conference room, it's more appropriate." As they walked to the conference room, Ethan felt both impressed and frustrated by her boundaries. She wasn't making this easy for him, and maybe that was the point. Inside the conference room, they sat across from each other. Ethan noticed how Nia always maintained eye contact when she spoke, never shrinking or deferring the way many new employees did around partners. "Your design will be the highlight of the gala," he said. "We're expecting coverage from several major publications." "That's great exposure for the firm," Nia replied. "And for you," Ethan added. "You deserve the recognition." She studied him for a moment. "Thank you. But I have to wonder why you're suddenly so invested in my success." Ethan hesitated. "What do you mean?" "I mean that from the moment I arrived, you've been watching me. First with skepticism, now with something else. I'd like to know why." The room felt suddenly warm. Ethan loosened his tie slightly. "I admire your work," he said simply. "Is that all?" Their eyes locked, and Ethan knew he couldn't lie to her. "No, that's not all." Before he could continue, William Porter entered the room. "Ah, there you both are. Ethan, the Jensen clients are here early. They're waiting in your office." Ethan stood up, both relieved and disappointed by the interruption. "We'll continue this discussion later," he said to Nia. She nodded, her expression unreadable. As the day of the charity gala approached, Ethan found himself thinking more and more about Nia. He'd dated many women over the years, all successful, all beautiful, all from backgrounds similar to his own. None of them had challenged him the way Nia did. None of them had made him question himself. 2 days before the gala, Ethan was leaving work when he saw Nia in the parking garage, struggling with a flat tire. "Need some help?" he offered, walking over. She looked up, a strand of hair falling across her face. "I called roadside assistance, but they said it'll be an hour." "I can change it for you," Ethan said, taking off his suit jacket. Nia watched with surprise as he rolled up his sleeves and got to work. "I didn't take you for the car mechanic type. My father taught me. He said even if you can afford to pay someone else to do it, you should know how to do it yourself." "Sounds like a wise man." "He was," Ethan said, working on the lug nuts. "He passed away 5 years ago." "I'm sorry," Nia said softly. They were quiet for a moment, the only sound the echo of metal against concrete as Ethan worked. "My father is a city planner," Nia said eventually. "Retired now. He's the reason I became an architect. He taught me that buildings aren't just structures, they're the framework for human lives." Ethan looked up at her. "That's a beautiful way to think about it. It's why community spaces are so important to me," she continued. "They're where people connect, where they become more than strangers sharing a city." Ethan finished changing the tire and stood up, wiping his hands on a handkerchief. "Your father sounds like a wise man, too." "He is," Nia agreed. "He also taught me to see people clearly, to look past what they present to the world and see who they really are." Their eyes met, and Ethan felt exposed, as if she could see all his contradictions, all his carefully constructed barriers. "Thank you for your help," she said, breaking the moment. "You're welcome," he replied. "See you at the gala." Nia nodded. "Yes, see you there." As she drove away, Ethan stood in the empty parking garage, wondering if she could indeed see who he really was, and whether that person was someone worth seeing. The night of the charity gala arrived. The grand ballroom of the Four Seasons Hotel was transformed with elegant decorations, and Seattle's elite mingled among displays of Northspire's most celebrated designs. Ethan arrived early, greeting clients and colleagues with practiced charm. But his eyes kept drifting to the entrance, waiting for Nia. When she finally appeared, the room seemed to dim around her. She wore a floor-length gold dress that complemented her skin tone perfectly. Her hair was styled in an elegant updo, with a few curls framing her face. Ethan couldn't take his eyes off her. Neither, it seemed, could anyone else. As Nia made her way through the crowd, Ethan overheard snippets of conversation. "That's the new designer everyone's talking about. I heard she's being fast-tracked for partner. William is calling her the future of Northspire." A surge of pride mixed with something else, jealousy, rose in Ethan's chest. He wanted to go to her, to stand by her side, but something held him back. Then he saw James, his friend from the club, approaching Nia with a drink in hand and a smile that Ethan knew all too well. Without thinking, Ethan moved quickly through the crowd. "Nia," he said, reaching her just before James did. "You look stunning tonight." She turned to him, surprise and something else flickering in her eyes. "Thank you, Ethan. You clean up nicely yourself." James joined them, eyebrows raised at Ethan's obvious interruption. "Aren't you going to introduce me to your colleague, Ethan?" "James, this is Nia Campbell, our new Civic Engagement Director. Nia, this is James Whitman, an old friend." "Pleasure to meet you," James said, his eyes lingering on Nia longer than necessary. Ethan didn't mention how beautiful his new colleague was. Nia's smile was polite but cool. "I prefer to be recognized for my work rather than my appearance, Mr. Whitman." James laughed uncomfortably. "Of course. No offense intended." An awkward silence fell over the trio. "Nia, your presentation is scheduled to begin in 15 minutes, Ethan said. "Would you like to review anything beforehand?" "That would be helpful, actually," she replied, seeming relieved by the excuse to step away. "If you'll excuse us, James," Ethan said, not waiting for a response as he guided Nia toward a quieter corner of the ballroom. "Thank you for the rescue," Nia said once they were alone. "James can be persistent," Ethan replied. "Is he the friend you told you don't date black women?" Nia asked suddenly. Ethan felt as if the floor had dropped out from under him. "What?" "I overheard him talking to another guest earlier, about how you've changed your type recently." Ethan's face burned with shame. "Nia, is it true?" she pressed. "Did you say that?" He couldn't lie to her. "Yes, but I was wrong. I was ignorant and narrow-minded, and You're watching me now, like I'm brand new," Nia interrupted, her voice quiet but intense. "But I've always existed. You just never looked." The truth of her words hit Ethan like a physical blow. He had no defense, no explanation that wouldn't sound hollow. "You're right," he said simply, "and I'm sorry." Nia studied him for a long moment. "I believe you're sorry, but that doesn't change anything." Before Ethan could respond, William Porter approached them. "Nia, we're ready for your presentation whenever you are," he said. She nodded, composing herself quickly. "I'll be right there." As she walked away to prepare, Ethan stood alone, the weight of his past words and attitudes pressing down on him. He had never felt more ashamed or more determined to change. The lights dimmed, and all eyes turned to the stage where Nia stood, poised and confident. As she began to speak about her design, about community and connection and the power of inclusive spaces, Ethan watched her with new eyes. He wasn't just attracted to her, he was in awe of her. And he knew with sudden clarity that he needed to become the kind of man worthy of her respect, whether or not she ever gave him a second chance. Nia's presentation at the charity gala was a huge success. The crowd applauded enthusiastically as she described her vision for community-centered architecture. Afterward, she was surrounded by admirers and potential clients, all eager to speak with Northspire's rising star. From across the room, Ethan watched her shine. The shame of their earlier conversation still burned in his chest. He had never felt so exposed, so wrong about something so fundamental. "She's quite impressive," said a familiar voice beside him. Ethan turned to find his sister Ivy, sipping champagne and observing the crowd. "I didn't know you were coming tonight," he said, surprised. "The magazine sent me to cover the event," Ivy explained. She was a journalist for Seattle Style, known for her sharp social commentary. "So that's her, huh?" "Nia Campbell." "Yes, that's her." Ivy studied her brother's face. "And based on the way you're looking at her, I'd say she's more than just a colleague." Ethan sighed. "It's complicated." "It always is with you," Ivy said. "But I've never seen you look at anyone the way you're looking at her right now." Before Ethan could respond, James approached them, drink in hand. "Your new diversity hire is making quite an impression," he he said with a smirk. Though I have to say I'm surprised by your sudden interest, Ethan, considering what you said at the club last year. Ivy's eyes narrowed. What exactly did my brother say, James? James glanced between the siblings. Just that he doesn't date black women, not his type. The look of disappointment on Ivy's face made Ethan's stomach twist. Tell me you didn't actually say that, she said quietly. I did, Ethan admitted. And I was wrong. Damn right you were wrong, Ivy snapped. What would Mom and Dad have thought hearing you talk like that? They raised us better, Ethan acknowledged. I know that now. Does Nia know what you said? Ivy asked. She overheard James talking about it earlier tonight. Ivy shot James a disgusted look. Nice work, James. James raised his hands defensively. Hey, I was just making conversation. Well, go make it somewhere else, Ivy told him. When James had left, she turned back to Ethan. So what are you going to do about it? What can I do? She has every right to hate me. You can start by being better, Ivy said firmly. If you're serious about her, say it. Loud, clear, in front of the world that raised you not to. Ethan looked across the room at Nia, who was now speaking with William Porter. It's not that simple. It never is, Ivy agreed. But if you really care about her, you'll find a way to make it right. The next morning, Ethan arrived at the office earlier than usual. To his surprise, Nia was already there reviewing designs at her desk. Good morning, he said, stopping at her door. She looked up, her expression guarded. Morning. Your presentation was amazing last night. Everyone's talking about it. Thank you, she replied coolly. Ethan hesitated, then stepped into her office. Nia, about what you overheard last night. We don't need to discuss it, she interrupted. It's fine. No, it's not fine, Ethan insisted. What I said was ignorant and wrong. I need you to know that I don't think that way anymore. Nia set down her pen and looked at him directly. People don't change their views overnight, Ethan. You're right, but meeting you has made me question a lot of things about myself, about the way I was raised, about the circles I move in. She studied him for a moment. Why should I believe you're any different now? It was a fair question, and one Ethan wasn't sure he could answer. I don't expect you to believe me right away. I'm just asking for a chance to prove it. Prove it how? By showing you who I really am, not who I was conditioned to be. Nia's expression softened slightly. That's a start, I guess. Ethan felt a glimmer of hope. Would you have dinner with me tonight, just as colleagues, to talk? I can't tonight, Nia said. My father is in town visiting. Another time, then? She hesitated, then nodded. Maybe. We'll see. It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no either. Ethan would take it. That evening, Nia sat across from her father, Vernon Campbell, at a small Italian restaurant near her apartment. At 65, Vernon still had the commanding presence that had served him well during his career as a city planner. His salt and pepper hair was cropped short, and his dark eyes missed nothing. So, tell me about this new job, he said after they'd ordered. Is it everything you hoped? The work is challenging, and I'm getting to lead some exciting projects, Nia replied. But, Vernon prompted, hearing the hesitation in her voice. Nia sighed. But sometimes I feel like I'm just there to check a box on their diversity initiatives. Are they treating you with respect? Most of them, yes. The managing partner, William, has been very supportive. And then there's Ethan Royce. Vernon raised an eyebrow. What about him? He's one of the senior partners. Young, successful, handsome in that privileged sort of way. Sounds like you've noticed him. Dad, Nia protested. It's not like that. If you say so, Vernon replied with a knowing smile. So what's the problem with this, Ethan? Nia told her father about the overheard comment, about Ethan's apology, about her conflicted feelings. Vernon listened carefully, his expression thoughtful. And now you're falling for him. I didn't say that. You didn't have to, Vernon said gently. I know that look. Nia pushed her pasta around her plate. Even if I was interested, which I'm not saying I am, how could I ever trust someone who once said something like that? People can change, Nia, but they have to want to. He says he wants to. Vernon reached across the table and took his daughter's hand. Listen to me carefully. If a man loves you in private but can't stand with you in public, he doesn't love you. He loves the idea of having you. Nia nodded, understanding the warning in her father's words. I'll be careful, Dad. That's my girl, Vernon smiled. Now when do I get to meet this Ethan? Dad, I told you it's not like that. Not yet, maybe, Vernon chuckled. But I've never seen you this worked up over a colleague before. Back at the office the next day, Ethan was in a meeting with the other partners when the topic of the Jefferson Street project came up, a major civic center in a predominantly black neighborhood of Seattle. The community has some concerns about our design approach, William explained. They feel it doesn't reflect their cultural heritage. James Bennett, another partner, scoffed. We are architects, not cultural ambassadors. They're getting a state-of-the-art facility. What more do they want? Ethan felt a familiar discomfort. A month ago, he might have nodded along with James's dismissive attitude, but now he heard the words differently. Maybe we should listen to what they're saying, Ethan suggested. This building is going to be part of their community for decades. They should have a voice in how it's designed. The other partners looked at him with surprise. Since when are you the champion of community input? James asked with a smirk. Since I realized that good architecture isn't just about what looks impressive in our portfolio, Ethan replied evenly. It's about creating spaces that serve the people who use them. William looked thoughtful. What do you propose, Ethan? I think we should ask Nia to lead this project, Ethan said. Her expertise in community-centered design is exactly what we need here. Are you sure this isn't about something else? James asked suggestively. Ethan met his gaze without flinching. I'm recommending her because she's the best person for the job. Her work speaks for itself. William nodded. I agree. Let's bring Nia in and discuss transitioning the project to her team. After the meeting, James cornered Ethan in the hallway. What's going on with you lately? First you're mooning over the new hire, now you're handing her our biggest project? I'm putting the firm's best interests first, Ethan said coldly. Maybe you should try it sometime. Come on, Ethan, we both know what this is about. You've got a thing for her. Whether I do or don't is none of your business, Ethan replied. But what is clear is that Nia Campbell is an exceptional architect who deserves our respect. So I suggest you start showing it. James stared at him in disbelief. You really have changed. Yes, Ethan agreed. I have. Later that day, Ethan knocked on Nia's office door. She was on the phone but waved him in, holding up a finger to indicate she'd be just a minute. Yes, Dad, I'm still coming for dinner on Sunday, she was saying. No, I'm not bringing anyone. Stop asking. She rolled her eyes, smiling despite herself. Love you too, bye. She hung up and turned to Ethan. Sorry about that. My father's in town and he's being persistent. Fathers can be like that, Ethan said with a smile. I wanted to let you know that we're reassigning the Jefferson Street project to you. Nia's eyes widened. Really? That's a major project. Yes, it is. And you're the right person to lead it. The community has concerns about the current design approach, and your expertise in community engagement makes you the perfect choice. Thank you for the opportunity, Nia said, clearly surprised. But why are you giving up the project? I know it was important to you. Because you'll do it better than I would, Ethan replied honestly. Your understanding of how to create spaces that truly serve communities is something I'm still learning. Nia studied him, as if trying to decide whether to believe him. This isn't just about making up for what you said, is it? No, Ethan assured her. This is about doing what's right for the project, for the community, and for Northspire. After a moment, Nia nodded. All right then, I'll start reviewing the existing plans today. Great. And Nia? Yes? That dinner offer is still open. Whenever you're ready. She didn't answer right away, but there was a softness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. I'll think about it. Over the next few weeks, Ethan made good on his promise to change. He spoke up in meetings when he heard microaggressions, championed Nia's ideas to clients, and began educating himself about the issues he had once ignored. He read books on racial equity in design, attended community forums in neighborhoods he'd never visited, and had long conversations with Ivy about his blind spots. Slowly, he began to see Seattle, and himself, through new eyes. Nia noticed the changes too. She saw how Ethan advocated for her in meetings, how he challenged the other partner's assumptions, how he was genuinely trying to learn and grow. One rainy afternoon, she stopped by his office with a stack of design revisions for the Jefferson Street project. I thought you might want to take a look at these before the client meeting tomorrow, she said. Ethan looked up from his computer, pleased by the unexpected visit. Of course, thank you. As he reviewed the plans, he couldn't help but admire her work. These are brilliant, Nia. You've completely transformed the space. I had some help, she admitted. I've been meeting with community leaders, hearing their stories, understanding what this center means to them. That's exactly what the project needed, Ethan said. I can see why you're so passionate about community engagement now. Nia hesitated, then said, If you're not busy this weekend, you could come with me to the community forum. See it for yourself. Ethan looked up, surprised and pleased by the invitation. I'd like that. It's Sunday at 2 p.m., Nia said. I could pick you up on my way. It's a date, Ethan replied, then quickly corrected himself. I mean not a date, a work thing. Nia smiled, amused by his flustered response. "I know what you meant." Sunday arrived, and Ethan found himself unusually nervous as he waited for Nia to pick him up. He had changed his outfit 3 times, finally settling on casual slacks and a blue button-down shirt. Professional, but not stuffy. When Nia pulled up in her car, Ethan was struck again by how beautiful she was, even in simple jeans and a green sweater. "Ready?" she asked as he got into the passenger seat. "Ready," he confirmed. The community center was in Jefferson Park, a neighborhood Ethan had rarely visited despite living in Seattle his entire life. As they walked in, he was immediately struck by the warm, vibrant atmosphere. People of all ages were gathered, talking animatedly about the project. "Nia," called an older woman, approaching them with a wide smile. "We were hoping you'd make it today." "Mrs. Johnson, I wouldn't miss it," Nia replied, hugging the woman. "This is my colleague, Ethan Royce. He's one of the partners at Northspire." Mrs. Johnson looked Ethan up and down. "So you're one of the big bosses, huh?" "I'm just here to listen and learn today," Ethan said, extending his hand. Mrs. Johnson shook it firmly. "Well, that's a good start." Throughout the afternoon, Ethan watched as Nia moved easily among the community members, listening to their concerns, sketching quick design modifications, and making everyone feel heard. She was in her element, and it was captivating. More than once, he caught Mrs. Johnson watching him watch Nia, a knowing smile on her face. As the forum was winding down, a teenage girl approached Nia with a sketchbook. "Ms. Campbell, I want to be an architect too. Could you look at my drawings?" "Of course," Nia said warmly, taking the sketchbook. She flipped through the pages, nodding appreciatively. "These are very good, Tasha. You have a natural sense of space." "Really?" the girl asked, her face lighting up. "Really," Nia confirmed. "Keep developing your skills, and if you ever want to see what an architectural firm is like, I'd be happy to give you a tour of Northspire." "That would be amazing." After the girl left, Ethan said, "That was kind of you." Nia shrugged. "When I was her age, I didn't see many architects who looked like me. It makes a difference having someone say, 'Yes, this space is for you too.'" Ethan nodded, understanding a little better now. "You're changing lives here, not just buildings." "That's the goal," Nia said with a smile. On the drive back, they fell into easy conversation about the project, about architecture, about their shared passion for design. For the first time, there was no tension between them, just the natural flow of 2 people finding common ground. When they reached Ethan's apartment building, he turned to her. "Thank you for today. It was eye-opening." "I'm glad you came," Nia said. There was a moment of silence, filled with unspoken possibilities. "Would you like to come up for coffee?" Ethan asked. "Or dinner? I make a decent pasta." Nia hesitated. "Ethan, just as friends," he added quickly. "No pressure." After a moment, she nodded. "Okay, dinner sounds nice." In Ethan's spacious apartment, Nia wandered around the living room while he prepared dinner in the open kitchen. She studied his bookshelves, his art collection, the framed family photos. "Is this your sister?" she asked, picking up a photo of Ethan with a woman who shared his steel-gray eyes. "Yes, that's Ivy," he replied, chopping vegetables. "She's a journalist. You'd like her." "And these are your parents?" Ethan glanced at the photo of a handsome couple standing in front of a lake house. "Yes, that was taken the summer before my father passed away." "I'm sorry," Nia said softly. "He was a good man," Ethan said. "Demanding but fair. He built Northspire from nothing." "Your father founded Northspire?" Nia asked, surprised. "Yes, it was his life's work. That's why it's so important to me to get it right." Nia set down the photo and moved to the kitchen island, watching him cook. "And yet you were willing to give the Jefferson Street project to me." "Because it was the right thing to do," Ethan said simply. "For the project and for the firm." He handed her a glass of wine, and their fingers brushed, sending a small current between them. "Can I ask you something?" Nia said after taking a sip. "Anything. Why did you say it, that you don't date black women?" Ethan set down his knife, giving the question the serious consideration it deserved. "Because I was ignorant," he said finally. "I grew up in a bubble of privilege, surrounded by people who looked like me, thought like me. Dating was just another part of that bubble. I never questioned it until I met you." "And now?" Nia asked quietly. "Now I realize how much I was missing by living in that bubble, how narrow my world was." He looked at her directly. "I wasn't afraid to date you. I was afraid of what it would say about everything I built." Nia held his gaze. "And what does it say?" "That it was built on a false foundation," Ethan admitted. "One that I'm now trying to rebuild." The honesty of his answer touched something in Nia. She set down her wineglass and moved closer to him. "That's a good start," she said softly. For a moment they stood there, inches apart, the air between them charged with possibility. Then Ethan's phone rang, breaking the spell. He glanced at the screen. "It's William. I should take this." Nia nodded, stepping back. "Of course." As Ethan spoke with William about an urgent client matter, Nia returned to the living room, trying to collect her thoughts. She was attracted to Ethan. She couldn't deny that anymore. But could she really trust his transformation? When Ethan ended the call, he looked apologetic. "I'm sorry, but there's an emergency with the lakefront tower project. I need to go in." "On a Sunday night?" Nia asked. "The client is flying in from Tokyo tomorrow morning, and there's a major issue with the structural plans," Ethan explained. "Rain check on dinner?" "Sure," Nia said, gathering her purse. "I should be going anyway." At the door, Ethan hesitated. "Nia, about what almost happened?" "It's okay," she interrupted. "We got caught in a moment, it happens." But they both knew it was more than that. The next day at the office, Ethan was in back-to-back meetings, dealing with the lakefront tower crisis. He didn't see Nia until late afternoon, when she appeared at his office door. "I heard about the structural issues," she said. "Is there anything I can do to help?" Ethan looked up, his eyes tired but grateful. "Actually, yes. I could use a fresh perspective on these support columns." Nia sat beside him at his desk, and they worked together for hours, finding solutions to the complex problem. Their professional chemistry was undeniable, each anticipating the other's thoughts, building on ideas, creating something better together than either could alone. By the time they finished, it was past midnight, and the office was deserted. "We make a good team," Ethan said as they gathered their things to leave. "We do," Nia agreed. In the elevator, the exhaustion of the long day caught up with them, and Nia leaned against the wall, closing her eyes briefly. "You should let me drive you home," Ethan offered. "You're too tired to drive." "I'm fine," she insisted. "Just need some coffee." "At least let me buy you a late dinner," he countered. "There's an all-night diner near here that makes a great burger." Nia was too hungry and tired to argue. "Okay, but I'm buying my own burger." The diner was nearly empty, just a few night shift workers and insomniacs scattered among the booths. Ethan and Nia slid into a booth by the window, ordered burgers and coffee, and sat in comfortable silence for a moment. "Thank you for your help tonight," Ethan said finally. "You saved the project." "We saved it together," Nia corrected him. "Still, I owe you one." Nia smiled. "I'll remember that." As they ate, their conversation drifted from work to more personal topics, favorite books, films, places they'd traveled. For the first time, they were just two people getting to know each other, without the weight of their professional roles or past mistakes. "My father would like you," Nia said suddenly. Ethan looked surprised. "Really? Even knowing what I said?" "He believes in second chances," Nia explained, "and in judging people by their actions, not their words." "I'd like to meet him someday," Ethan said. "You might get your chance. He's extending his visit for a few more weeks." The implication that Ethan might be part of Nia's life long enough to meet her father hung in the air between them, full of promise. When they finally left the diner, the night air was cool and crisp. They walked to their cars in the empty parking lot, neither wanting the evening to end. "I'll see you tomorrow," Nia said, unlocking her car door. Ethan nodded. "Tomorrow." But before she could get in, he gently touched her arm. "Nia, wait." She turned to face him, her expression questioning. "I want to do this right," he said earnestly. "No rushing, no assumptions. But I need you to know that what I feel for you is real, and I'm willing to wait to prove it to you for as long as it takes." Nia looked into his eyes, searching for the truth. What she saw there made her heart beat faster. "I'm still not sure I can trust this," she admitted. "Trust us." "I understand," Ethan said, "but I'm not going anywhere." He leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted to. Instead, she met him halfway, and their lips touched in a soft, questioning kiss. When they parted, Nia whispered, "Good night, Ethan." "Good night, Nia." As she drove home, Nia's mind was racing. She was falling for Ethan Royce, the man who once said he'd never date someone who looked like her. The irony wasn't lost on her. But the question remained, was his change of heart genuine? And even if it was, would it last when faced with the reality of what it meant to love a black woman in a world that had taught him not to? Only time would tell, and Nia Campbell had never been afraid to wait for what she truly wanted. The weeks following their first kiss were a delicate dance for Nia and Ethan. At work, they maintained professional boundaries, focusing on their respective projects. But after hours, they began spending more time together. Dinners, walks along the waterfront, conversations that stretched late into the night. Ethan was patient, never pushing for more than Nia was ready to give. He understood her hesitation and respected it. Each day he worked to prove that his change was genuine, not just a passing phase. One evening they were working late in Ethan's office when William Porter knocked on the door. "Sorry to interrupt," he said, "but I wanted to let you both know that the Jefferson Street project has been nominated for the Urban Vision Award." Nia's eyes widened. "But we haven't even broken ground yet." The committee was so impressed with the design and community engagement process that they've created a special category this year. "Most Promising Urban Development," William explained. "It's quite an honor." "That's wonderful news," Ethan said, smiling at Nia. "Congratulations. This is as much your achievement as mine," Nia told him. "We've been working on this together." William looked between them, a knowing smile on his face. "Yes, I've noticed how well you two collaborate. In fact, I'd like you both to present at the awards ceremony next month." After William left, Ethan turned to Nia. "He knows about us. Is that a problem?" she asked. Ethan shook his head. "Not for me. But what about you? Are you comfortable with people at work knowing?" It was a loaded question, and they both knew it. If they went public with their relationship, they would face scrutiny, assumptions, maybe even judgment. "I don't want to hide," Nia said finally. "But I also don't want to be office gossip." "We'll take it one day at a time," Ethan assured her. "No pressure." The next day, Nia was having lunch with her father at a cafe near the office. "For you seem happy," Vernon observed, studying his daughter's face. "Does this have anything to do with that Ethan you mentioned?" Nia couldn't suppress a smile. "Maybe." Vernon raised an eyebrow. "So you're seeing him now?" "We're getting to know each other," Nia said carefully. "And has he proven himself worthy of that chance?" "He's trying, Dad. Really trying. He's been advocating for me at work, learning about community-centered design, even attending neighborhood forums with me." Vernon nodded thoughtfully. "Actions speak louder than words, but Nia, you need to be prepared. The world won't always be kind to you two." "I know," Nia sighed, "but he says he's ready for that." "Saying and doing are different things," Vernon reminded her. "When the time comes, will he stand with you in public? Will he defend your relationship to his friends, his family, his colleagues?" "I believe he will," Nia said, though a small doubt lingered in her mind. "So I hope you're right," Vernon replied, "because you deserve someone who's proud to be with you, not someone who sees you as a secret or a phase." "He's not like that, Dad." "Then I look forward to meeting him," Vernon said. "How about dinner this weekend, at my hotel?" Nia hesitated, then nodded. "I'll ask him." When she returned to the office, Nia found an elaborate flower arrangement on her desk, roses, lilies, and orchids in a crystal vase. "Secret admirer?" asked Lisa, one of the junior designers, peeking into Nia's office. "Apparently," Nia replied, opening the small card tucked among the flowers. The note read, "Thinking of you. Dinner tonight? E." Lisa grinned. "Ethan Royce, huh? The whole office is talking about you two." Nia looked up sharply. "What do you mean?" "Oh, nothing bad," Lisa assured her. "Just that you make a cute couple, though some people are surprised." "Why surprised?" Nia asked, though she already knew the answer. Lisa shrugged uncomfortably. "You know how people talk. Ethan has always dated a certain type, until now." "And what type is that?" "You know, women who look more like—" Lisa trailed off, realizing she was stepping into dangerous territory. "Women who look more like him," Nia finished for her. "I didn't mean anything by it," Lisa said quickly. "Actually, I think it's great that Ethan is dating outside his usual circle. It shows he's not as superficial as people thought." The comment stung, though Nia knew Lisa hadn't intended to be hurtful. Was that how people saw her relationship with Ethan? As evidence that he wasn't superficial? Later that afternoon, Ethan stopped by her office. "Did you get the flowers?" "They're beautiful," Nia said. "But a bit obvious, don't you think?" Ethan looked confused. "I thought you said you didn't want to hide." "I don't, but I also don't want to be the office gossip." "Too late for that," Ethan said with a wry smile. "James has been making snide comments all day." Nia sighed. "Lisa told me people are surprised you're dating someone like me." Ethan's expression darkened. "What exactly did she say?" "Just that you've always dated a certain type, women who look more like you." "I'm sorry," Ethan said, genuine regret in his voice. "But Nia, I don't care what anyone thinks. I'm with you because of who you are, not what you look like." "I know," Nia said, softening. "And yes, I'll have dinner with you tonight, but first I have a question." "Anything. Would you like to have dinner with my father this weekend?" Ethan's eyebrows shot up. Your father wants to meet me. Yes. Is that a problem? No, not at all, Ethan said, though he looked a bit nervous. I'd love to meet him. Good. Saturday at 7, at the Fairmont. I'll be there, Ethan promised. That night, they had dinner at a small Italian restaurant where the owner knew Ethan by name. As they ate pasta and sipped wine, Ethan reached across the table and took Nia's hand. I want to talk about something, he said. That sounds serious, Nia replied. It is. The Urban Vision Awards ceremony is a major industry event. Everyone will be there. Colleagues, competitors, clients. I know. What about it? Ethan squeezed her hand. If we go together, as a couple, people will talk. They're already talking, Nia pointed out. This would be different, more public. Are you ready for that? Nia studied him. Are you asking because you're worried about me, or because you're worried about yourself? Both, honestly, Ethan admitted. I want to make sure you're comfortable, but I also want you to know that I'm all in, Nia. I want to walk into that ceremony with you on my arm, proud to be with you. I just need to know you feel the same. The sincerity in his eyes touched her. I do, she said softly. I'm all in too. The night of the dinner with Vernon arrived, and Ethan was uncharacteristically nervous as he entered the Fairmont Hotel. He'd changed his tie 3 times and rehearsed what he wanted to say to Nia's father during the entire drive over. Vernon and Nia were already seated at a table in the hotel's elegant restaurant. Vernon rose as Ethan approached, extending his hand. Mr. Campbell, it's a pleasure to meet you, Ethan said, shaking Vernon's hand firmly. Likewise, Vernon replied, his expression neutral as he assessed the man who was dating his daughter. Throughout dinner, Vernon asked Ethan about his background, his work, his family. Ethan answered honestly, never trying to hide his privileged upbringing or the advantages he'd had in life. Nia tells me you're working on the Jefferson Street project together, Vernon said. That's in a predominantly black neighborhood, isn't it? Yes, it is, Ethan confirmed, and it's been an education for me. I've learned so much about community-centered design from Nia. And what did you know about that community before this project? Vernon asked pointedly. Ethan hesitated, then decided on complete honesty. Very little. Despite living in Seattle my entire life, I'd rarely visited that neighborhood. I was insulated. Most people in your position are, Vernon said, his tone softening slightly at Ethan's candor. Dad, Nia warned, sensing her father's interrogation was just beginning. Vernon held up a hand. I'm just getting to know Ethan, honey. That's what this dinner is for, right? It's okay, Ethan assured Nia. I understand why your father has questions. Good, Vernon said. Because here's my most important one. When my daughter told you what she overheard, that you said you don't date black women, what was your first thought? Dad, Nia exclaimed, embarrassed. No, it's a fair question, Ethan said. He looked directly at Vernon. My first thought was shame, not because I was caught, but because I realized how wrong I'd been, how narrow my thinking was. And my second thought was fear. Fear that I'd lost any chance with this incredible woman before I'd even had the opportunity to know her. Vernon studied Ethan's face for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Good answer. The rest of the dinner passed more pleasantly, with Vernon sharing stories of Nia's childhood and her early passion for architecture. By the end of the evening, the tension had eased considerably. As they were saying goodbye in the hotel lobby, Vernon pulled Ethan aside while Nia was in the restroom. You seem sincere, Vernon said quietly, but loving a black woman in this world requires more than good intentions. It requires courage, consistency, and a willingness to confront your own privilege every day. Are you ready for that? I'm learning, Ethan replied honestly, and I'll keep learning, because Nia is worth it. Vernon clapped him on the shoulder. Make sure you remember that when things get difficult, because they will. On the drive back to Nia's apartment, Ethan was quieter than usual. What's wrong? Nia asked. Was dinner too intense? No. Your father was right to question me, Ethan said. He loves you and wants to protect you. From me, Nia said with a small smile. From getting hurt, Ethan corrected. And I don't blame him. But Nia, I need you to know something. What's that? I'm in this for the long haul. Whatever challenges come our way, I'm not backing down. The certainty in his voice warmed her heart. When they reached her apartment, she invited him up for the first time. Nia's home was a reflection of her personality, warm, cultured, with art from her travels and family photos displayed prominently. Ethan took his time examining the photos, smiling at pictures of young Nia with her father. You look happy, he observed. We were, Nia said, joining him. After my mom died, it was just the two of us. He worked so hard to give me everything I needed. He did a wonderful job, Ethan said softly, turning to face her. "You're the most remarkable woman I've ever known." Nia felt her heart beating faster as Ethan gently cupped her face in his hands. When he kissed her, it was different from their first kiss, deeper, more certain, full of promise. Later, as they lay in each other's arms, Ethan traced patterns on Nia's bare shoulder. "I never thought I could feel this way about anyone," he murmured. "Is it because I'm different from the women you usually date?" Nia asked, the question that had been lingering in her mind finally surfacing. Ethan propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at her seriously. "It's because you're you, Nia. Yes, you've opened my eyes to things I was blind to before, but what I feel for you goes beyond that. You challenge me, you inspire me, you make me want to be better in every way." His words erased the last of her doubts, at least for that night. The next morning, reality intruded in the form of James Bennett, who cornered Ethan in the office kitchen. "So the rumors are true," James said with a smirk. "You and the diversity hire are an item." Ethan set down his coffee cup carefully. "Her name is Nia Campbell, and she's one of the most talented architects in this firm. I suggest you start showing her the respect she deserves." "Relax, Ethan. I'm just surprised, that's all. This isn't like you." "Maybe the old me," Ethan replied coldly. "But people change, James. Or at least, they should." "Your father would have something to say about this, you know," James said, his tone deliberately casual. "About you dating an employee, especially one who—" "Who what?" Ethan interrupted, his voice dangerously quiet. "Choose your next words very carefully, James." James held up his hands in mock surrender. "Hey, I'm just looking out for you." Office relationships are complicated enough without adding other factors. "The only factor that matters is that Nia and I care about each other," Ethan said firmly. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do." As Ethan walked away, James called after him. "Your mother's charity luncheon is next week. Are you bringing your new girlfriend to that too?" The question stopped Ethan in his tracks. He hadn't thought about his mother's annual charity event, a gathering of Seattle's old money families that had been a fixture of his social calendar since childhood. "Yes," he said without turning around, "I am." But as he continued to his office, doubt crept in. His mother, Eleanor Royce, was a product of her generation and social class. She wasn't overtly prejudiced, but she had certain expectations. How would she react to Nia? More importantly, would he be subjecting Nia to an uncomfortable situation? He was still mulling this over when Nia appeared at his door, looking radiant in a blue dress that complemented her skin tone perfectly. "Good morning," she said with a smile that made his heart skip. "Good morning," he replied, rising to greet her. "You look beautiful." "Thank you. I just came to tell you that I can't have lunch today. I have a meeting with the Jefferson Street Community Board." "No problem. Dinner tonight?" "I'd like that." Before she could leave, Ethan said, "Nia, there's something I wanted to ask you." "What is it?" "My mother has this charity luncheon every year. It's next Saturday. Would you come with me?" Nia raised an eyebrow. "Meeting the mother already?" "If you're not ready—" "I'm ready," Nia interrupted. "But are you? Will your mother be okay with me?" The hesitation in her voice broke Ethan's heart a little. The fact that she even had to ask such a question was a reminder of the different worlds they came from. "My mother can be traditional," Ethan admitted, "but she'll love you once she gets to know you. And even if she didn't, which won't happen, it wouldn't change how I feel about you." Nia nodded slowly. "All right, I'll come." The day of Eleanor Royce's charity luncheon arrived, clear and sunny. Ethan picked Nia up at her apartment, admiring how elegant she looked in a cream-colored dress and matching jacket. "You look perfect," he assured her, sensing her nervousness. The luncheon was held at the Royce family's lakeside estate, a sprawling property that had been in the family for generations. As they drove through the gates, Nia took in the manicured gardens, the tennis courts, the boathouse at the edge of the lake. "You grew up here?" she asked. "Yes," Ethan replied, somewhat embarrassed by the obvious display of wealth. "It's a bit much, I know." "It's beautiful," Nia said simply. Eleanor Royce was greeting guests on the terrace, a slim, elegant woman in her 60s, with Ethan's steel-grey eyes and an air of quiet authority. "Mother," Ethan said, kissing her cheek, "I'd like you to meet Nia Campbell." Eleanor's eyes widened slightly, the only indication of surprise she allowed herself. "Ms. Campbell, how lovely to meet you." "The pleasure is mine, Mrs. Royce," Nia replied warmly. "Your home is stunning." "Thank you," Eleanor said. "Ethan mentioned you're an architect with his firm?" "Yes, I specialize in community-centered design." "How interesting." "Ethan, James, and Marissa are by the pool. Why don't you take Ms. Campbell to say hello? As they walked away, Ethan squeezed Nia's hand. You're doing great. Your mother seems reserved. That's just her way, Ethan assured her. She's like that with everyone at first. Throughout the luncheon, Ethan noticed the curious glances, the whispered conversations that stopped when he and Nia approached. He felt a growing anger at the barely concealed surprise on the faces of people he'd known his entire life. James was there with his wife Marissa, who made a show of being friendly to Nia while asking subtly condescending questions about her background. Atlanta? How diverse. Was it very difficult to adjust to Seattle's social scene? Nia handled each interaction with grace and dignity, never showing if the comments bothered her. But Ethan could sense her discomfort growing as the afternoon wore on. The final straw came during lunch, when Eleanor was seated with her closest friends, and Ethan overheard one of them ask, "Is your son's new friend one of the scholarship recipients? How wonderful of him to bring her." Before Eleanor could respond, Ethan stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the stone patio. "Excuse me, everyone," he said, his voice carrying across the tables. "I'd like to make something clear. Nia Campbell is not a scholarship recipient. She is an award-winning architect, a brilliant designer, and the woman I'm in love with." A hush fell over the gathering. Nia looked up at him, her eyes wide with surprise at his public declaration. "Furthermore," Ethan continued, "I'm disappointed by the assumptions and whispers I've witnessed today. I expected better from people who claim to value character and dignity." "Ethan," Eleanor said sharply, "this is hardly the time or place." "On the contrary, Mother, this is exactly the time and place. If we can't be honest with the people closest to us, what's the point of any of this?" He turned to Nia, who was watching him with a mixture of shock and admiration. "I'm sorry you've had to endure this. Would you like to leave?" Nia stood, taking his hand. "Yes," she said quietly. As they walked toward the house, Eleanor followed them. "Ethan, wait, please." He stopped, turning to face his mother. "I'm sorry if I embarrassed you, Mother, but I won't apologize for defending Nia." Eleanor's expression softened. "I'm not asking you to. In fact, I owe Ms. Campbell an apology. I should have been more welcoming, more protective of my son's guest." She turned to Nia. "I'm sorry, my dear, please don't judge us all by today's poor showing." Nia nodded graciously. "Thank you, Mrs. Royce. Please, call me Eleanor, and I hope you'll give me another chance to get to know you properly." The sincerity in Eleanor's voice surprised both Ethan and Nia. "I'd like that," Nia said. As they drove away from the estate, Ethan was still fuming. "I'm so sorry about all of that. I knew there might be some awkwardness, but I never expected such blatant rudeness." "It's okay," Nia said, touching his arm. "I've dealt with worse." "That doesn't make it right." "No, it doesn't. But what you did, standing up for me, for us, that means everything, Ethan." He glanced at her. "I meant what I said back there. I love you, Nia." It was the first time he'd said those words, and they hung in the air between them, full of significance. "I love you too," Nia replied softly. When they reached Nia's apartment, Ethan turned to her. "Come away with me this weekend. Let's go somewhere, just the two of us. Away from work, away from everyone else's opinions." Nia smiled. "Where did you have in mind?" "There's a cabin on the Olympic Peninsula that's been in my family for years. It's quiet, peaceful. We could use a break, don't you think?" "That sounds perfect," Nia agreed. The cabin turned out to be a beautiful timber home overlooking the ocean, secluded and serene. For 2 days, Ethan and Nia walked on the beach, cooked meals together, and talked for hours in front of the fireplace. Away from the pressures of work and society, they found a deeper connection, a shared vision of what their future might look like. On their last night at the cabin, as they sat on the deck watching the sunset, Ethan took Nia's hand. "These past few months have changed me," he said. "You've changed me. Not just how I see the world, but how I see myself, what I want from life." "And what do you want?" Nia asked. "You," Ethan said simply. "A life with you, building something meaningful together, both in our work and in our personal lives." Nia leaned her head on his shoulder. "I want that too." They returned to Seattle refreshed and more committed than ever to each other, but reality was waiting for them at Northspire. William Porter called Ethan into his office first thing Monday morning. His expression was grave. "We have a problem," he said without preamble. "The Henderson Group is threatening to pull their contract." The Henderson Group was one of Northspire's biggest clients, responsible for millions in annual revenue. "Why?" Ethan asked, though he had a sinking feeling he already knew. "Robert Henderson was at your mother's charity luncheon," William said. He overheard your speech. He's concerned about the direction of the firm. The direction of the firm? Ethan repeated incredulously. You mean my relationship with Nia? William sighed. I'm just telling you what he said. Henderson is old school, Ethan. He values tradition, stability. And dating a black woman doesn't fit with his idea of tradition, Ethan asked, his voice tight with anger. I'm not saying it's right, William said quickly. In fact, I think it's despicable. But as managing partner, I have to consider the financial implications for the firm. What exactly are you asking me to do, William? I'm not asking you to do anything about your personal life, William clarified, but perhaps you and Nia could be more discreet at work, at least until the Henderson contract is secured. Ethan stood up. No, absolutely not. I won't hide my relationship to appease a bigot, even if he is a major client. Ethan, be reasonable. No, you be reasonable, William. If we cave to this kind of pressure, what message does that send to Nia, to all our employees of color, that their dignity is less important than a contract? William rubbed his temples. I knew you'd say that, and for what it's worth, I agree with you, but the other partners may not. They'll be concerned about the bottom line. Then let me worry about the other partners, Ethan said, and about Henderson. When Ethan told Nia about the situation, she was quiet for a long moment. Maybe William is right, she said finally. Maybe we should be more discreet just until the contract is secured. No, Ethan said firmly. I won't do that to you. I won't skulk around like we have something to be ashamed of. It's not about shame, Ethan. It's about being practical. This is your family's firm. Your father built it. And I want to build it into something better, Ethan insisted. Something more inclusive, more forward-thinking. We can't do that by compromising our values. Nia looked at him with a mixture of pride and concern. Are you sure about this? Henderson could take his business elsewhere. Let him, Ethan said. We'll find clients who value what we stand for, not just what we build. The next day, Ethan requested a meeting with Robert Henderson. The older man arrived at Northspire looking smug, as if he expected Ethan to capitulate to his demands. Robert, thank you for coming, Ethan said, shaking the man's hand with cool professionalism. Ethan, I assume William spoke to you about my concerns. He did, and I wanted to address them personally. Robert nodded, clearly expecting an apology. Good. I've always respected your father, and I'd hate to end our business relationship over personal matters. Let me be clear, Robert, Ethan said, his voice level but firm. My relationship with Nia Campbell is not up for discussion or negotiation. She is a brilliant architect and the woman I love. If that's a problem for you, then perhaps Northspire isn't the right firm for your projects. Robert's face reddened. Are you terminating our contract? No, I'm giving you a choice. You can continue working with the best architectural firm in Seattle, regardless of who I date, or you can take your business elsewhere. Either way, I won't compromise on this. For a long moment, Robert stared at Ethan, clearly stunned by his directness. Then, unexpectedly, a smile crept across his face. Your father would be proud, he said. He never backed down from what he believed in either. Does that mean you're staying with Northspire? Ethan asked, surprised by the change in tone. It means I respect your integrity, even if I don't understand your personal choices, Robert replied. And yes, we'll honor our contract. After Robert left, Ethan found Nia in the conference room, reviewing plans for the Jefferson Street project. How did it go with Henderson? She asked, concern in her eyes. Better than expected, Ethan said, sitting beside her. He's staying with us. Really? What did you say to him? The truth, that you're the woman I love, and that's not negotiable. Nia's expression softened. You're amazing, you know that? I'm just trying to be worthy of you, Ethan said simply. As the date of the Urban Vision Awards approached, the entire firm was buzzing with excitement. The Jefferson Street project was a favorite to win, and Nia and Ethan had been working tirelessly on their presentation. The night before the ceremony, they were at Ethan's apartment, practicing one last time. I think we're ready, Nia said, closing her laptop, though I'm still nervous about speaking in front of all those people. You'll be brilliant, Ethan assured her. You always are. He disappeared into the bedroom and returned with a small box. I have something for you. For tomorrow night. Nia opened the box to find a delicate gold necklace with a pendant shaped like a compass. It's beautiful, she breathed. My father gave one like this to my mother when they first started working together, Ethan explained. He said she was his true north, the person who always pointed him in the right direction. He gently fastened the necklace around Nia's neck. That's what you are for me, Nia. My North Star. You've guided me to a better version of myself. Tears welled in Nia's eyes. I love you, Ethan. I love you too. And tomorrow night, the whole world will know it. The Urban Vision Awards ceremony was held at the Grand Hyatt, with Seattle's architectural community out in full force. Nia and Ethan arrived together, her in a stunning emerald gown, him in a classic black tux. As they entered the ballroom, all eyes turned to them. But this time, there were more smiles than whispers, more nods of approval than raised eyebrows. William Porter greeted them warmly. The talk of the town, you two, and not just for your Jefferson Street design. Is that a problem? Ethan asked. William laughed. On the contrary, our firm has never received so many inquiries from young, diverse design talent. It seems your relationship has put Northspire on the map as a progressive workplace. Throughout the evening, colleagues and competitors approached them, congratulating them on the Jefferson Street nomination. Nia handled the attention with grace, never letting go of Ethan's hand. When it was time for the award in their category, the presenter announced, "And the Urban Vision Award for Most Promising Urban Development goes to Northspire Architecture for the Jefferson Street Community Center." The crowd erupted in applause as Nia and Ethan made their way to the stage. They had agreed that Nia would speak first, followed by Ethan. Nia stepped up to the microphone, her voice clear and confident. "Thank you for this honor. The Jefferson Street project represents a new direction for Northspire, one that prioritizes community voices and needs. This award belongs to the people of Jefferson Park, who shared their vision with us and trusted us to bring it to life." When it was Ethan's turn, he looked out at the audience, then at Nia, standing proudly beside him. "A reporter recently asked me about our firm's sudden interest in community-centered design," he began. "She suggested it was just a trend, a marketing strategy, but it's much more than that. It's a recognition that great architecture isn't just about imposing our vision on the world. It's about listening, understanding, and serving the people who will actually live and work in the spaces we create." He paused, his gaze finding James in the crowd, then Robert Henderson, then his mother who had come to support him. "Nia Campbell taught me that. She opened my eyes to a perspective I was missing, not just in architecture but in life. She is the heart and soul of this project, and I am honored to work alongside her, to learn from her, and to love her." A murmur went through the crowd at his public declaration. Nia looked at him, her eyes shining with tears and pride. "Together," Ethan continued, "we're building more than just a community center. We're building a future where differences are celebrated, not just tolerated. Where perspectives like Nia's aren't the exception, but the rule." As they left the stage to thunderous applause, Ethan knew that his words would be all over the industry news tomorrow, and he couldn't have been happier about it. At the after-party, they were approached by a reporter from Architectural Digest. "Mr. Royce, Ms. Campbell, congratulations on your win. I'd love to feature your project and your partnership in our next issue." "We'd be honored," Nia replied. "I have to ask," the reporter said, lowering her voice slightly. "There are rumors about how you two met, about comments Mr. Royce allegedly made in the past about not dating black women. Is there any truth to that?" Ethan felt his stomach tighten. This was the moment Nia had warned him about, when their private story would become public fodder. Before he could respond, Nia squeezed his hand and said, "We all have moments in our past that don't reflect our best selves. What matters is how we learn and grow from them." The reporter pressed on. "So the rumors are true? Is your rising star the reason for your sudden change of heart, Mr. Royce?" Ethan looked at Nia, then back at the reporter. He knew his answer would be quoted, analyzed, maybe even criticized, but he also knew exactly what he wanted to say. "Excuse me for a moment," he said to Nia, then walked toward the small stage where the band was playing. He whispered something to the band leader, who nodded and handed him a microphone. The music stopped and all eyes turned to Ethan. "I apologize for the interruption," he said, his voice carrying through the room, "but there's something I need to say." He found Nia in the crowd, her expression a mixture of confusion and curiosity. "Nia Campbell isn't my rising star," Ethan said clearly. "She's the North Star. I didn't discover her. I finally looked up." The room was silent now, everyone listening intently. "And to answer your question," he continued, looking directly at the reporter, "I didn't just change my mind about black women. I changed my mindset, and I'll spend the rest of my life making sure she knows it wasn't temporary." Nia's hand went to the compass necklace at her throat, tears welling in her eyes. Ethan stepped off the stage and made his way back to her, aware of the hundreds of eyes watching them, but caring only about hers. When he reached her, He took both her hands in his. "I know that was very public," he said softly, "but I needed everyone to hear it, especially you." "I heard you," Nia whispered, "and I believe you." As the party continued around them, they remained in their own world, two people who had found each other against all odds, who had changed each other for the better, and who were now ready to face whatever came next, together. The morning after the Urban Vision Awards, Ethan woke to find Nia already awake, reading something on her tablet with a troubled expression. "What's wrong?" he asked, sitting up in bed. She handed him the tablet. On the screen was an article from the Seattle Architectural Review with the headline, "Love Transforms Royce. Northspire Partners' Controversial Past Comments Surface After Public Declaration." The article detailed Ethan's comment about not dating black women, his subsequent change of heart after meeting Nia, and his dramatic declaration at the awards ceremony. It was mostly positive, praising his growth and courage, but it also questioned whether his transformation was genuine or just a public relations move. "I'm sorry," Ethan said, setting down the tablet. "I knew this might happen, but I didn't think it would be so fast." "It's not your fault," Nia assured him. "This is the world we live in. Everything becomes a headline. Does it bother you, having our personal story out there for everyone to analyze?" Nia considered the question. "A little, but I'm proud of you, Ethan. Proud of us, and maybe our story will help change other minds too." Ethan pulled her close. "Have I told you lately how amazing you are?" "Not in the last 8 hours," she teased. "Well, you are, and I don't care what anyone writes or says. I know what's real." When they arrived at the office, they found a bouquet of flowers on each of their desks, with a note from William Porter. "Congratulations on the award and on finding each other. Northspire is lucky to have you both." But not everyone was as supportive. James was conspicuously absent from the morning meeting, and several colleagues seemed awkward around them, unsure what to say in light of the article. Lisa, the junior designer, stopped by Nia's office later that day. "I just wanted to say I think it's really brave what you two are doing." "Brave?" Nia repeated. "We're just dating, Lisa. It's not an act of courage." "You know what I mean," Lisa said, lowering her voice. "It's not easy being in an interracial relationship in this industry. People talk. Let them talk," Nia said firmly. "What Ethan and I have is nobody's business but ours." After Lisa left, Nia sat at her desk, troubled by the conversation. Was that how people saw them? As some sort of statement rather than two people who happened to fall in love? That evening, she shared her concerns with Ethan as they walked along the waterfront. "Does it bother you that people see our relationship as some kind of political statement?" she asked. Ethan thought for a moment. "What bothers me is that they're missing the point. This isn't about politics or social statements. It's about us, about how you changed me by being exactly who you are." "And who am I?" Nia asked softly. "You're the woman who saw past my ignorance to the person I could become," Ethan said. "The woman who held me accountable, but also gave me a chance to be better. The woman I want to spend my life with." Nia stopped walking, her eyes wide. "What did you just say?" Ethan turned to face her, taking both her hands in his. "I said you're the woman I want to spend my life with. Nia Campbell, I love you. I know it hasn't been that long, but I've never been more certain of anything." "Ethan, are you—" "No, I'm not proposing, not yet," he said with a smile. "But I want you to know that's where I see this going, if you'll have me." Nia's heart swelled. "I love you too, Ethan. And yes, that's where I see us going too." The following week, they focused on work, diving into the final designs for the Jefferson Street project. The publicity from the Urban Vision Award had brought increased attention to the project, and Nia was determined to make it perfect. One afternoon, William called them both into his office. "I have news," he said, his expression serious. "Good and bad." "What is it?" Ethan asked. "The good news is that the Jefferson Street project has secured additional funding from the city. They were impressed by the award and the community engagement approach." "That's wonderful," Nia said. "And the bad news?" William sighed. "We've lost the Westlake Tower contract. The client cited a difference in corporate values as the reason." "Meaning they don't approve of us," Ethan clarified. "Most likely," William agreed. "But here's the thing. For every client we've lost, we've gained 2 more. Young, progressive companies that want to work with a firm that reflects their values. The truth is, your relationship has become something of a brand for Northspire." Nia frowned. "That's not why we're together." "Of course not," William said quickly. "But it's the reality. People are watching you two, some with admiration, some with skepticism. All I'm saying is that you've put Northspire on the map in a new way." After the meeting, Ethan could see that Nia was troubled. "What's wrong?" he asked as they walked back to her office. I don't like being a brand, she said. I don't want our relationship to be used to sell the firm's progressive credentials. It won't be, Ethan assured her. William's just stating the facts. We can't control how others perceive us, but we can control what we do and why we do it. Nia nodded, but she remained pensive for the rest of the day. That weekend, they visited Ethan's mother for dinner. Eleanor Royce had been making a genuine effort to get to know Nia, inviting them over regularly, and even attending community meetings for the Jefferson Street project. The construction is starting next month, Eleanor asked as they sat in her elegant dining room. Yes, Nia confirmed. We're on schedule, which is rare for a project this size. I was talking to Marianne Porter yesterday, William's wife, Eleanor said casually. She mentioned that Northspire has been receiving attention from national publications because of your project, and because of you two, of course. Mother, Ethan warned. What? It's a good thing, isn't it? The firm is thriving. It's complicated, Nia said diplomatically. We're happy that the Jefferson Street project is getting attention, but we don't want our relationship to be the focus. Eleanor studied her thoughtfully. May I speak frankly, Nia? Of course. When Ethan first brought you here, I was surprised. Not because of who you are, but because I've never seen my son look at anyone the way he looks at you. Nia glanced at Ethan, who seemed as surprised as she was by his mother's candor. Ethan has always been driven, focused on success, Eleanor continued, just like his father. But something was missing, a purpose beyond just building beautiful structures or making money. Mother, Eleanor held up a hand, silencing him. Let me finish, dear. What I'm trying to say is that you've found that purpose now, both of you. The work you're doing together matters. So if people want to focus on your relationship, let them. Eventually they'll see what I see. Two people who make each other better and who are using that strength to make a difference. Nia was touched by Eleanor's words. Thank you, Mrs. Royce. Eleanor, please, she corrected with a smile. And I hope someday you'll call me something else entirely. Ethan nearly choked on his wine. Mother, what? I'm not getting any younger, and I'd like grandchildren while I can still chase after them. Despite her embarrassment, Nia couldn't help laughing at Ethan's mortified expression. Later that night as they drove home, Ethan shook his head. I'm sorry about my mother. She can be very direct. I like her, Nia said. She reminds me of my father. They both say exactly what they think. Speaking of your father, he called me yesterday. Nia looked surprised. He did? Why? He wanted to check in, see how things were going with us. I think he's still not entirely convinced I'm good enough for you. And what did you tell him? The truth that I'm trying to be every day. A few weeks later, as they were preparing for the groundbreaking ceremony at the Jefferson Street site, Ethan received a call from James. I want to apologize, James said without preamble, for how I've acted about you and Nia. Ethan was surprised. What brought this on? My daughter, James admitted. She read the article about you two and asked me why it was such a big deal, why people would care what color Nia's skin is. I didn't have a good answer for her. Kids have a way of cutting through the nonsense, Ethan said. They do, James agreed. Anyway, I wanted to say I was wrong, and I'd like to make it up to you both. Maybe dinner sometime? I'd like that, Ethan said. I'll talk to Nia. When he told Nia about James's call, she was skeptical. People don't change that easily. You changed me, Ethan reminded her. That's different. You wanted to change. Maybe James does too, Ethan suggested. For his daughter's sake, if nothing else. Nia considered this. All right, we'll give him a chance. The groundbreaking ceremony for the Jefferson Street Community Center was a major event, with the mayor, city council members, and community leaders all in attendance. Nia and Ethan stood side by side as they addressed the crowd, explaining their vision for a space that would serve as the heart of the neighborhood. This center belongs to all of you, Nia told the gathered community members. It's your needs, your dreams, your input that shaped every aspect of its design. After the official ceremony, as people mingled and celebrated, an older woman approached them. Miss Campbell? Mr. Royce? She said. I'm Ida Johnson. I've lived in this neighborhood for 60 years. It's a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Johnson, Nia said warmly. I just wanted to thank you both, the woman continued. When they first announced this project, I was worried it would be another case of outsiders telling us what we need. But you listened. You really listened. That was all Nia, Ethan said. She taught me the importance of listening to the community. Mrs. Johnson smiled knowingly. And she taught you a few other things too, from what I hear. Ethan laughed. Yes, she did. Well, you two give me hope, the older woman said. My grandson is dating a white girl, and I'll admit I had my concerns, but seeing you together, how you respect each other, how you're building something meaningful, it helps an old lady like me believe that maybe the world is changing after all." As Mrs. Johnson walked away, Nia squeezed Ethan's hand. "See, it's not just about us." "No," he agreed. "It's about what we represent, what we're building together." Over the next 6 months, the Jefferson Street Community Center began to take shape. Nia and Ethan visited the site regularly, watching as their design became reality. Their relationship deepened too, with Ethan practically living at Nia's apartment, though they maintained the fiction of separate residences. One evening, as they were walking through the partially constructed center, Ethan seemed distracted. "What's on your mind?" Nia asked. "I've been thinking about something William said a while back about us becoming a brand for Northspire. That still bothers me," Nia admitted. "Me too," Ethan said. "But what if we could use that influence for something more important?" "Like what?" "Like changing the face of architecture, creating opportunities for designers from underrepresented communities, using our platform to make real change in the industry." Nia stopped walking, her eyes lighting up. "A scholarship program?" "More than that," Ethan said excitedly. "A full mentorship initiative, funding for architectural education, internships at Northspire, guidance from established architects like you." "Like us," Nia corrected him. "Like us," Ethan agreed with a smile. "What do you think?" "I think it's brilliant," Nia said, "and exactly what the industry needs." They presented the idea to William the next day, who embraced it enthusiastically. "The Northspire Diversity and Design Initiative," he said. "I love it, and the board will too, especially with the positive press we've been getting lately." Over the next few weeks, they worked tirelessly on the initiative, reaching out to architectural schools, community colleges, and youth programs in underserved areas. The response was overwhelming. "We've already received 50 applications for the first round of scholarships," Nia told Ethan one night as they reviewed the program materials. "And 3 other firms have contacted us about implementing similar programs," Ethan added. "We're starting something meaningful here, Nia." She looked up at him, her eyes full of pride and love. "We are." As the completion date for the Jefferson Street Community Center approached, Ethan became increasingly secretive, disappearing for hours without explanation and having hushed phone conversations. "Is everything okay?" Nia asked, after the 3rd time he cut a call short when she entered the room. "Everything's fine," he assured her. "Just some details for the opening ceremony. I want it to be perfect." The night before the grand opening, Ethan took Nia to dinner at the restaurant where they'd had their first real date. "Feeling nostalgic?" she teased, as they were seated at the same table. "Something like that," Ethan replied with a mysterious smile. After dinner, he suggested they drive by the community center to check on the final preparations. When they arrived, Nia was surprised to find the building lit up, despite the late hour. "What's going on?" she asked, as Ethan led her inside. The main hall of the center had been transformed. Soft lighting illuminated the space, and in the center of the room stood a small table with a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses. "Ethan, what is this?" He took her hands in his. "Do you remember the first time we argued about design? It was right here in this space. You sketched that community gathering area, and I realized you were right." "I remember," Nia said softly. "That was the moment I started to see differently. Not just architecture, but everything. You opened my eyes, Nia. You changed my mind and my heart." Ethan reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Nia's breath caught as he knelt down on one knee. "Nia Campbell, you are the most extraordinary woman I've ever known. You challenge me, inspire me, and make me want to be better every day. I love you more than I thought possible, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you." He opened the box, revealing a stunning emerald ring surrounded by diamonds. "Will you marry me?" Tears filled Nia's eyes. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will marry you." As Ethan slipped the ring onto her finger, a movement in the shadows caught Nia's attention. She looked up to see Vernon Campbell and Eleanor Royce stepping forward, both smiling broadly. "Dad?" Nia gasped. "Mrs. Royce." "Eleanor," Ethan's mother corrected, coming forward to embrace her. "Or Mom, if you prefer." Vernon approached Ethan, extending his hand. "Welcome to the family, son." "You knew about this?" Nia asked her father. "Ethan called me last week to ask for my blessing," Vernon explained. "He said he wanted to do things right." "And you're okay with this?" Nia pressed, knowing how protective her father had been. Vernon looked at Ethan, then back at his daughter. "He's proven himself, Nia, not just with words, but with actions. That's all a father can ask for. Eleanor poured champagne for everyone, raising her glass in a toast. To Nia and Ethan, may your life together be as beautiful as the spaces you create. The next day, the Jefferson Street Community Center opened to great acclaim. Residents poured in, marveling at the beautiful, functional spaces designed with their needs in mind. The community gathering area that Nia had sketched on that first day was particularly popular, with children playing on the stepped seating and seniors watching from the comfortable benches. As Nia and Ethan moved through the crowd, receiving congratulations on both the center and their engagement, a reporter from the Seattle Times approached them. "Mr. Royce, Ms. Campbell, congratulations on this remarkable achievement," she said. "The community seems thrilled with the center." "Thank you," Nia replied. "That's the highest compliment we could receive." "I understand congratulations are in order on a personal level as well," the reporter continued, nodding toward Nia's engagement ring. "Yes, we're very happy," Ethan said, putting his arm around Nia's waist. "If you don't mind my asking, your relationship has become something of an inspiration for many people. What would you say to those who are surprised by your partnership?" Nia and Ethan exchanged a look, silently deciding who would answer. Finally, Nia spoke. "Love isn't about finding someone who looks like you or comes from the same background," she said. "It's about finding someone who sees you, truly sees you, and chooses to stand beside you anyway. And it's about being open to change," Ethan added, "to having your mind changed by someone remarkable enough to show you a different way of seeing the world." The reporter smiled. "That's a beautiful sentiment. One last question. What's next for you two?" "Professionally, we're launching the Northspire Diversity in Design Initiative," Ethan explained. "It's a program to create opportunities for designers from underrepresented communities." "And personally?" the reporter pressed. Nia laughed. "One step at a time. We have a wedding to plan first." After the reporter left, Ethan pulled Nia aside to a quiet corner of the center. "Have I told you today how much I love you?" "Not in the last hour," she teased. "Well, I do. More than I ever thought possible." "I love you too," Nia said softly. "And I'm proud of us, Ethan. Proud of what we've built together and what we're going to build in the future." As they rejoined the celebration, Nia caught sight of her father watching them from across the room, a satisfied smile on his face. Beside him stood Eleanor Royce, equally proud. "Our families seem to be getting along," Ethan observed, following her gaze. "They both want the same thing," Nia replied. "For us to be happy." "And are you happy?" Nia looked up at the man who had once said he would never date someone like her, the man who had changed his mind and his heart because of her, the man she would soon marry. "Completely," she said. "Are you?" Ethan smiled, the love in his eyes unmistakable. "I've never been happier in my life." As the day wore on, they found themselves back in the community gathering area that had started it all. The space was filled with laughter and conversation, exactly as Nia had envisioned it. "You were right about this place," Ethan said. "It's the heart of the center." "We were right," Nia corrected him. "It took both of us to make it what it is." Ethan took her hand, his thumb brushing over her engagement ring. "Just like it will take both of us to build our future." "I can't wait," Nia said, her eyes shining with promise. Later that night, as they stepped outside into the cool evening air, Nia kicked off her heels, exhausted but exhilarated by the day's events. Ethan found her there, hands in his pockets, love in his eyes. "You meant every word today?" she asked, echoing the question from their first real connection months ago. "I did," he replied, "and I will, every day for the rest of our lives." She studied him for a long moment, seeing not just the man he was now, but the man he had been, and the one he was still becoming. Then quietly, "Then stop watching me from across the room. Come stand next to me." He did, and this time, he didn't just hold her hand where everyone could see, he held her heart where she could feel it, forever changed, forever connected, forever home.